Srila Prabhupada. So we shall start with the bhajan. Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Bihari, Jai Gopi Janavallabha, Jai Girivardhari, Jai Gopi Janavallabha, Jai Girivardhari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Vihari, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Jamuna Tiravanachari, Jai Kunja Bihari, Jai Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Radha Radha Nata Radhe, Jai Radha Shama Sundar Radhe, Jai Radha Madhava Radhe, Jai Jai Prabhupada, Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnu Para Paramhamsa Privaracharya Asuta Sara Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vishnu Para Paramhamsa Privaracharya Asuta Sara Srila Bhaktisaranta Saraswati Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai. Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Giri Raj Govardhan Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Vyasadeva. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Vaishnavas. So dear devotees, today we'll be reading from Analogy 20, actually, the Vedas, the Vedic wisdom. So we see that before I start, I'd just like to read from the Bhagavad Gita what Krishna says about the Vedas. And Bhagavad Gita 15:15, where he says, Sarvasya Shaham Ridi Sanivisto Mata Smiti Jnanam Apohanam Cha Vedes Cha Sarve Aham Eva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So here Krishna is establishing himself as the knower of the Vedas, right? And he is to be known by all the Vedic scriptures. So let's go on to the analogy from the light of the Bhagavad, which goes as follows. Text 20. Fierce torrents of rain break over the strand of the partition walls of the paddy field. These disturbances resemble those created by seasonal opponents of the standard principles of the Vedas, who are influenced by the age of Kali. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Originally, the path of self-realization was established by the standard direction of the Vedas. Srila Vyasadeva divided the original Vedas into 4 divisions, namely Sama, Atharva, Rig, and Yajur. Then he divided the same Vedas into 18 Puranas, the supplements, as the Mahabharata, and then again the same author summarized them in the Vedanta Sutras. The purpose of these Vedic literatures is to realize oneself to be the spiritual being, eternally related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the all-attractive form, Sri Krishna. But all these different Vedic literatures were systematically distorted by the onslaught of the age of Kali, as the walls of the paddy field and the strand of the river are distorted by the onslaught of heavy rains. The attacks of distortion are offered by atheistic philosophers who are concerned only with eating, drinking, being merry, and enjoying. These atheists are all against the revealed scriptures because such persons are intimately attached to sense pleasures and gross materialism. There are also others who do not believe in the eternity of life. Some of them propose that life is ultimately to be annihilated and that only the material energy is conserved. Others are less concerned with the physical laws, but do not believe anything beyond their experience. And still others equate spiritual and matter and declare the distinction between them to be illusory. There is no doubt that the Vedas stand as the most recognized books of knowledge from every angle of vision, But over the course of time, the Vedic path has been attacked by philosophers like Charvaka, Buddha, Arahat, Kapila, Patanjali, Sakara, Vaikarana, Jaimini, the Nyayikas, the Vaisikas, and Sagunas, the emperors, and the Pashupatas, Savas, the Saguna Savas, the Brahmanas, the Aryas, and many others. The list of non-Vedic speculators grow daily without restriction. The path of the Vedas does not accord with any principle devoid of eternal relationship with God, attainment of his devotional service. I'll read that again. The path of the Vedas does not accord with any principles devoid of an eternal relation with God, attainment of his devotional service, and culmination in transcendental love for him. So, first of all, we must understand what is Veda, what is the meaning of Veda. Veda means knowledge, right? And the Vedas was actually broken down into 4 categories for people to understand: the Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Veda. And somehow, this was done by Srila Vyasadeva, right, the compiler of the Vedas. And somehow or the other, he was not feeling complete, and he deliberated about this. Why am I not feeling complete? What is wrong? But I have broken down the Vedas, and he had further broken it down into, further divisions of the Vedas, like the Itihasas and the, then we get the Mahabharats, the Ramayana, and all of these things. And he was still not satisfied. Then his guru, Narad Muni, intervened and told him that he's feeling incomplete because he did not glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then Srila Vyasadeva compiled the cream of all Vedic literatures, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So this is the essence of all Vedic literatures, right? The cream is the most condensed version of milk, and it is very tasty and relishable. And similarly, the Srimad Bhagavatam is a condensed version of the Vedas. So the Vedas were basically churned, and out of the Vedas came out the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is most relishable. So there's a nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam describing this. 1:43. Nighama kalpataro galitam palam sukha mukha. Sorry, it's actually 1:13. Nighama kalpataro galitam palam sukha mukha amritam drava samritam pipavte bhagavatam rasa alayam muhur ahorasika bhuvi bhavaka. And the translation goes as follows: O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the ripened fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sukadev Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable by all. So in the purport, we see that to this verse, Prabhupada, he describes one's Rasika Bhav. If one wants to develop one's Rasika Bhav with Krishna, then he says the Srimad Bhagavatam is for you, right? And we see these are very exalted personalities. Those are basically on the liberated platform. And then he goes on to describe that there are 4 types of, at least several types of rasas that one can attain in the spiritual world, and we'll just go through them now. I'll just read them out to you. Let me just turn to that page. Yeah, so he says that the sensual pleasures are technically called rasas. Such rasas are of different varieties. In the revealed scripture, the following 12 varieties of rasas are enumerated. Number 1, Rodra, anger. 2, Adbhuta, wonder. 3, Shingara, conjugal love. 4, Hasya, comedy. 5, Veera, chivalry. 6, Daya, mercy. 7, Dasya, servitorship. 8, Sakya, fraternity. 9, Bhayanaka, horror. 10, Bibhatsa, shock. 11, Shanta, neutrality. And 12, Vatsalya, parenthood. So these rasas are found in the spiritual world, right? And we also have these rasas in this material world as well. But it's actually a perverted reflection. And Prabhupada goes on to say that these rasas are loving relationships between the same species, between animal and animal. And he says that all men like human beings. So there is no possibility of an exchange of rasa between man and animals. Because we are spirit souls, we have very deep rasa with the supreme soul. So rasa is had by all living entities with the supreme soul, that is Krishna. Srila Prabhupada is described in the Shruti mantras that Krishna is a fountainhead of all rasas, right? In the spiritual world, these rasas are experienced in full, whereas in this material world, it's only a perverted reflection, as I described before. So the analogy here can be used of a mango tree standing on the bank of the river, and the mango is ripe and is succulent, and it's standing on the bank of the river, and its reflection is in the water. So if you go and touch the reflection, will you get any substance from it? No, there's no substance, right? So this material world is similar. There's no substance here. It's a reflection of the spiritual world. So, what we think we're enjoying in this material world, but actually there's no substance. Real enjoyment is in the spiritual world when one establishes his relationship with Krishna, then he establishes his real connection, his Vedic connection, or his original constitutional position in the spiritual world, and that is to love Krishna, to serve and love Krishna. So true rasa or relationship or mellow cannot be experienced in its true nature here in this material world. Here we see that there's a relationship between boys and girls, right? And the boy says to the girl, I love you. And the girl says to the boy, I love you. Is this true love? You begin to wonder now, is this true love if it's only a perverted reflection? So how can true love be had in this material world, right? What we call love in this material world is actually lust, right? There's a song that goes, it's love, it's love, it's love that makes this world go round. But it's not actually love that makes this world go round. It's lust that makes this world go round. So, what can we actually have by tasting the reflection of this material world, right? So it's here in this material world is that you satisfy my senses and I satisfy your senses. And this is what is going on. What is this? This is not love. The true love is only had in the spiritual realm with Krishna. So true and deep rasa is begotten in the spiritual realm, where you only want to satisfy the senses of Krishna, right? And you'll do this by unalloyed love, that love that's not tinged by anything. Like in the nectar of devotion, it is being said that anya bilasita sunyam jnana karma anavritam anakayena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttamam. That love can only be unalloyed, and it's not tinged with jnana and karma, speculative knowledge, and karmic karma, which means fruit of action. So, when one goes to temple, mosque, or church and pray, Lord, give me this and give me that, so that he can be happy in this material world. But actually, that is not prayer. That is prayer. That is, you're praying, okay, you're praying to God, but to satisfy your own senses. So true love is to satisfy Krishna's senses. So you can go to the temple and pray to Krishna. Oh my Lord, please allow me to serve you. How can I satisfy you? And we see that this is what the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is all about, right? My dear Lord, please engage me in your devotional service. And devotional service means with love, right? Because Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, if one offers me love and devotion, a leaf, flower, fruit, or little water I will accept. So all he wants, in the ingredients that he wants, is a love and devotion. So in this way, we have to develop our unalloyed love for the Lord. And then Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that only by submissive hearing, right, the Srimad Bhagavatam, one can attain the pleasure of one's heart's desire. And what is one's heart's desire? Our desire, we may not know what's our heart's desire, but our heart's desire is to be lovers of the Supreme Lord. In a neutral state, in a passive state, as a parent, as a friend, as a lover. So we all have one of these 5 rasas in our hearts, right? Or like the rasas I previously read to you, right? Of chivalry and rodra, anger, and all of these things. That's also there in the spiritual world, right? We can have these, like Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev had the rasa of chivalry, so we can find that different personalities in the Bhagavatam have different types of moods with the Lord, right? Different types of rasas with the Lord. So in this way, we also have this one of these types of rasas with Krishna, right? And so we should hear from Srimad Bhagavatam very attentively and with submission, right? It was brought down to this material world from the spiritual world by Narad Muni, right? And he has given it to Vyasadev, and Vyasadev spoke it to Sukadev Goswami, who is compared to a parrot. When a parrot bites into a fruit, it becomes even more sweeter. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Sukadev Goswami, and therefore it is more relishable. So if we go back to that verse, 113, where it is being stated, Nigama kalpatara galitam palam, sukhamukad amritam drava samyutam. Drava samyutam means more relishable, becomes more relishable. In Sanskrit or in Hindi, basically, these words are very descriptive, right? In English, we'll say relishable, but drava samyutam actually means that, you're relishing something, that saliva is coming out of your mouth and you're relishing something. So this is the meaning of drava samyutam, where, your mouth, when you want to eat something tasty, then your mouth gets filled up with saliva. So that is what drava samyutam means. So like this, when you're relishing a mango, a sweet mango, it's like all the taste and their taste buds are basically, they are captured by the taste of this mango. So similarly, this Bhagavatam should be captured in our hearts through the process of hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we must drink this Bhagavatam through our ears, right? If we drink through the ears, the Srimad Bhagavatam, as given to us by Sukadev Goswami and coming down in the line of disciplic succession to Srila Prabhupada, to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, to Prabhupada, and eventually to us, right? And we are repeating the same message of Prabhupada. We are just repeating what Prabhupada is saying in these verses and purports. We're just repeating. So when you receive it like that, it becomes very relishable. And also, when you repeat this message, it is perfect. Whatever you say from the scripture becomes perfect. Because why? Because you're repeating what is spoken in the Vedic scriptures, coming in line of the disciplic succession. Evam parampara praptam imam rajasaya vidu sakalihena mata yoganasta parantapa. That the science of this Vedic literatures is coming down in. It was spoken to the saintly kings. They received it in this way, but in due course of time, the message was distorted, and therefore, Krishna came to speak the Bhagavad Gita again. So this verse is from the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna had to speak it again. And these words from the Bhagavad Gita spoken by Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, and we have to receive it like that. So we see also that the Bhagavad Gita, has so many versions and so many commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, but only Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is actually making disciples all over the world, right? Even today, as we speak, someone is receiving a Bhagavad Gita, and someone is reading a Bhagavad Gita, someone is studying a Bhagavad Gita, and in this way, they are receiving knowledge directly from Krishna. So all these literatures that Srila Prabhupada has given us are directly coming from Krishna himself. And therefore, when he touches the heart of the living entity says, yes, this is what I've been looking for all my life. It has happened to us, right? And that is why we are here, because we were searching also. And even if we weren't searching and we just happened upon a Bhagavad Gita or any of Srila Prabhupada's books, because it makes so much of sense to us, all that is being said in these scriptures are making so much of sense to us that, yes, this is what I've been searching for all my life. So people are being touched, from these books are translated into over 80 languages, right? And people all over the world are relishing them and becoming devotees of Krishna. Why? Because it's coming directly from the lips of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from the lips of his pure devotees, Sukadev Goswami. And, and therefore it is so relishable and tasty, right? And this is what Srila Prabhupada has given us. So all we have to do is to study these books and listen to the presentations from different devotees, different spiritual masters as well, because, each person has his own bhav and his own realizations comes forth when he speaks from these scriptures. So we must listen very attentively to these words of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, like this, in order to go back to the spiritual abode of Krishna. I just want to read another verse to you from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which goes as follows. This is 343. Krishna Swadhamapagata Dharma Gyane Dvisaha Kalona Sadrisham Esha Purna Koduna Ditaha. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. So, how profound is this? That, this verse is saying that people who have lost their vision due to this dark age, right? Darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. And we see this is what this Purana is doing. It's emanating its light and glory all over the world. In whichever language it is translated, it is touching the hearts of millions and millions of people, and they are becoming devotees. Like just yesterday and today, we had some new devotees, new people that came. Well, would be devotees. They are becoming devotees, and they said that actually they're just reading their first book that it was given to them, and they're reading that, and they are becoming so enlivened by what they are reading, because it's actually touching their hearts and removing all their material miseries from their hearts. So this is the glory of book distribution, what that one should take to the process of book distribution, distributing this knowledge far and wide, and giving people the opportunity to take to Krishna consciousness, because we have already been touched by this knowledge, and we are practicing devotees. So we must give others a chance to come to this process and experience the bliss of Krishna consciousness. So I'd like to stop there. And there's another verse, actually, the verse after that, which I'd like to read to you. Tatra kirtayata viprasre bhurite jasa aham charya gamam tatra nivishtasthad anugrahat saham va vayishmi yathaditam yatamati. Translation: O learned Brahmanas, when Sukadeva Goswami recited Bhagavatam there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus, by his mercy, I learned the Bhagavatam from the great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing that I had learned it from him as I have realized it. So yes, I was talking about how we should listen to the different speakers, because they give their realizations on the Bhagavatam. So there's a nice purport here, which I'd like to read also before we finish. So it's not very long, so let me just read that. One can certainly see directly the presence of Sri Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam if one has heard it from a self-realized great soul like Sukadeva Goswami. One cannot, however, learn Bhagavatam from a bogus hired reciter whose aim of life is to earn some money out of such recitation and employ the earning in sex indulgence. No one can learn Srimad Bhagavatam who is associated with persons engaged in sex life. That is the secret of learning Bhagavatam. Nor can one learn Bhagavatam from one who interprets the text by his mundane scholarship. One has to learn Bhagavatam from the representative of Sukadeva Goswami and no one else. If one at all wants to see Lord Shri Krishna in the pages, this is the process, and there is no alternative. Srila Sutta Goswami is a bona fide representative of Sukadev Goswami because he wants to present the message which he has received from the great learned Brahmana. Sukadev Goswami presented Bhagavatam as he had heard it from his father. And so also Sutta Goswami is presenting Bhagavatam as he has heard it from Sukadev Goswami. Simply hearing is not all. One must realize the text with proper attention. The word nivista means that Sutta Goswami drank the juice of the Bhagavatam through his ears. That is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam. One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person, at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Shri Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam. So this is a Shrutifal that Prabhupada is giving us, that we can see Krishna through the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam if we listen to the Srimad Bhagavatam with rapt attention. So, dear devotees, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. And from my realizations of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's hear from your realizations, what you have to say. So Bhagavatam should be actually relished and should be discussed like this, between the speaker and the audience. It should be discussed. So let's hear from you now.
Hare Krishna, Ranga.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I've just got a question that's puzzling me. We talk about the distortions and, the Vedas became distorted. I don't know if, correct me if I'm wrong, but you mentioned Buddha. But was Buddha also not a pastime of Lord Krishna?
Yes, he's one of the incarnations. But as we read in the purport, that, he basically spoke against animal killing, right? Non-violence. And he propagated voidism and voidism and impersonalism, basically, that, he said, forget the Vedas. Okay. Don't listen to the Vedas, just worship according to how he wants, like that. So that's how he propagated Buddhism, Yeah. So Nirvisheshinyavadi. This is one of Prabhupada's. It's in Prabhupada's pranam mantra. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. So Prabhupada came here to this material world to give up, to basically shun out all these different types of philosophies who are propagating voidism and impersonalism like this. So
I understand. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for a nice, wonderful class. So I just wanted to add something, right? Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita gives us instructions and rules, okay, as to how to live our lives properly. Okay, it explains our duty from the kings to parents to children, you know, our respectful duties. So I just wanted to add that, you know, it tells us exactly how to behave, what's our prescribed duties, you know, as individuals.
Yes. So the Bhagavad Gita also, you know, the duty of a Kshatriya, the duty of a Brahmana,
Yes.
of a Vaishya and a Sudra. So what their duties are. So yes, and of a Grihastha, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas as well. You know, so we have our specific duties, and these are described in these Vedic texts like this. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, so we should apply this in our lives. We should not only hear it and, you know, study it, but we should also apply it. And when we apply it in our lives, then we get the realizations, you know, of these texts. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Anything else, Paramatma Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for that wonderful class. Maharaj, the part about regulation, and you said moderate eating and sleeping, and that's obviously very hard to do sometimes. But you know, no matter which scriptures you follow, it's important that we do that to help us in our spiritual life.
Yes, so we should do everything in moderation. You know, eating, sleeping, and you know, in that way control our senses, right? So in order to make spiritual advancement on the path of bhakti, devotional service. So yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So we'll just have a little kirtan now and we'll end. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatari Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Shri Prabhupada ki jai Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai Vanchakalpatarubhaischa Kripasindhubhevcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna devotees.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.